Well, folks, it's January 6th and another fight broke out at the Capitol. This one is quite chilling in the sense that it was a snowball fight between Kamala Harris supporters and not an effing insurrection because our politicians don't spread lies about widespread election fraud. I want to show you guys some clips of this snowball fight, but there's a broader story that I want to tell here about the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We know how to have fun. Despite our loss, we are not crybaby losers. In fact, the Trump supporters are the angry winners nowadays. They won the election, and they are angrier than we were, even though we lost, which is insane. This snowball fight looks like a lot of fun at the Capitol on January 6th. Meanwhile, 4 years ago, this was what was going on at the Capitol.
Multiple capital injuries! Multiple capital injuries!
Okay, we don't have to watch the full clip, but let's just compare the events of January 6th 4 years apart. In 2021 and even 2020, Donald Trump spent months leading into the election spreading baseless lies about widespread election fraud in all of the key swing states. He then declared victory early on election night with no evidence to back it up. Mike Pence had to walk on stage after and basically walk it back and say, we're going to wait for all of the votes to be counted. And then Trump and his allies orchestrated a multi-pronged plan to overturn the results of a free and fair election. When Trump's phone calls didn't work, when he couldn't pressure Brad Raffensperger, he then tried fake electors using John Eastman's unconstitutional scheme. When that didn't work, he tried to strong-arm his own vice president. When that didn't work, it all culminated into this violent insurrection at the Capitol, and yes, it was absolutely an insurrection. That was the Republicans' January 6th, a day that will always live in infamy, not because of a snowball fight, but because they tried to overthrow the results of a free and fair election. Meanwhile, 4 years later, Kamala Harris, the sitting vice president, presided over the certification of her own loss. Just think about that for a second. Kamala Harris did not cry or make a single peep for a single second. Donald Trump spent months, years after the election, crying and whining about an election that was stolen, but Kamala showed the world what real strength, real democracy looks like, and she took the loss like a champ. Yes, it sucks to lose. It always sucks to lose, but she still certified the victory of Donald Trump because she believes in the broader goal of America, which is democracy. She still certified the victory of Donald Trump, the man who spent years smearing her, smearing her party, smearing the institutions that she inhabits, smearing her position as the vice president. So Trump couldn't accept his loss. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, with grace and dignity, certified her own defeat. The symbolism is powerful, and Trump supporters keep going, oh, I bet Kamala Harris is crying. She's probably so sad that she had to certify her own loss. No, you're completely missing the point. Kamala Harris did what Donald Trump never would do. And it's funny, even Mike Pence sent out a tweet today. The peaceful transfer of power is a hallmark of our democracy, and today, members of both parties in the House and Senate, along with the Vice President, certified the election of our new President and Vice President without controversy or objection. I'm going to highlight that part right there because he's clearly referring to what happened 4 years ago. I welcome the return of order and civility to these historic proceedings and offer my most sincere congratulations and prayers to President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. He then said, I also commend the members of the House, Senate, and the Vice President who did their duty under the Constitution of the United States. It being particularly admirable, the VP Harris would preside over the certification of a presidential election that she lost. Again, particularly admirable, which I think it's incredibly strong. Honestly, I know that we all hate Mike Pence. I grew up in Indiana, so I disagree with everything Mike Pence says, almost everything Mike Pence does, but I respect the fact that he stood strong 4 years ago on January 6th, despite Donald Trump and John Eastman, everyone's insane amount of pressure. They were trying to pressure him. Mike Pence stood strong. And, January 6th is supposed to remind us of the best parts of America. January 6th is supposed to be the day where, whether you win or you lose, you watch the peaceful transition of power, something that has existed since the inception of America that has allowed our country to be great and to flourish on the world stage. Other countries have copied our model of democracy. People get mad when I say that, but objectively, I can just point to South Korea. We helped South Korea after their dictatorship fell, and now they're the ones that are ahead of us because they actually are trying to arrest Yoon after his attempted coup. So something I want to focus on over the next 4 years is just hammering home not only January 6th, because I don't really care about the dumb fucks who went into the Capitol. I say this all the time. It's easy to get caught up in the minutia of Ashley Babbitt or was this window breached? And yes, this stuff is all incredibly important, but I think you can sometimes miss the forest for the trees when you focus on Ashley Babbitt in particular, because the broader message here is that Donald Trump, again, tried to steal the election in 6 different ways, 5, 6 different ways, by pressuring people, making up lies, declaring victory early, doing the fake slates of electors, and then finally, when none of that worked, it all culminated into January 6th, and there was even a suicide pact, they called it, at the DOJ on January 3rd, where all of the top DOJ officials sat Trump down in the Oval Office and said, if you replace the acting attorney general, Jeffrey Rosen, with Jeffrey Clark, who was a loyalist that was pushing Trump's baseless claims of election fraud, we will all resign en masse and speak out against you, speak out against your entire election fraud lie. And honestly, they should have done it anyways. With where we are 4 years later, they should have done this anyways. But again, just to back up, we'll research January 6th a lot over the next few months, over the next year. I'm going to be doing a lot of live streams where we go through the January 6th report, because one of my worries is that it could get muddied in history. I mean, I think that history will always look back on people like Adam Kinzinger or people like Liz Cheney, all of these people very fondly, everybody who served on this committee. But over the next 4 years, we can bet our bottom dollars that Trump is going to try to muddy the waters. What he's going to do is, it's not even about arresting Liz Cheney. It's not that he's going to burst into Liz Cheney's house with guns drawn and arrest Liz Cheney. It's more about the endless investigations. Think about what Republicans did to Hunter Biden over the last 4 years. Committee after committee, investigations where they dig up every little piece of his life. That's what they're going to do with Liz Cheney. What they're going to do is try to dig up one text message that she had or one email chain with somebody from the other side, and they're going to say, this disproves the entire J6 committee. So the onus is on us to make sure that the waters aren't muddied and to make sure that history remembers what happened on that day. Because to be 100% honest, the Democratic messaging has been weak on it over the last 4 years. There is no reality in which the vast majority of Americans should think that January 6th wasn't a big deal. It doesn't really affect me. And it's okay to be more worried about grocery prices or gas prices. I get that. But Americans should understand the underlying civics at play and how January 6th can affect them in the long run, how the erosion of every single institution in America, which is what Trump and his supporters want to see, how that affects them in the long run. You can draw a direct line between January 6th, people not caring about that, and now Trump thinking he has the permission structure to abolish the Department of Education, abolish all of these different departments. So yeah, I thought it was worth drawing a dichotomy between the way the two parties have handled the past 2 January 6th. The Republicans cried when they lost, and somehow they're still crying even though they won. They're still angry. Meanwhile, Democrats, as we always do, uphold the rules, the traditions, and the norms. So over the next 4 years, we'll have to relentlessly fight back against the disinformation regarding January 6th during these new committees. The onus will be on us to push back, because I don't know if CNN is doing it that effectively. We probably do it more effectively. So if you're with me, drop some blue hearts. Let me know. Have a great rest of your day. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one, and peace out.